Welcome to Hoffmann-Photography. My name is Rainer, and in this video I would like to clear up a common misconception about light metering, or more precisely, about spot metering. If you're not familiar with how exposure metering works in your camera, then you should perhaps first watch my video When and Why Exposure Metering Fails. Link is in the description. Anyway, I don't know if you have ever experienced this, but whenever there's a post in social media or on a forum along the lines of "My pictures are always too dark, what am I doing wrong?" and you scroll down a bit and then inevitably someone will reply and say, "Use spot metering and you will be fine." If only it was that simple. People who give this advice, especially to newcomers to photography, either don't really know how exposure metering works or they are making a practical joke. Yes, I mean it. To use spot metering successfully, you need to know exactly what you're doing. Here's why. Before we talk about spot metering, let's first take a look at the exposure metering modes of modern cameras. First, there is center-weighted metering. Center-weighted metering has been with us for decades now. The basic idea is that the center of the image is taken more into account for the exposure metering than the areas outside the center. I won't go into the details here, but personally, I believe center-weighted metering is obsolete because we have matrix or evaluative metering now. On most cameras, this is a default setting when you unbox the new camera. For each of these different areas, and there can be many more, a separate measurement is taken. From these measurements, the camera firmware then computes the exposure by evaluating, hence the name, the individual measurements. In my personal experience, the results of matrix or evaluative metering are quite good on average, but of course not perfect in every case. They can't be. And if you watched my video When and Why Exposure Metering Fails, you know why. That leaves spot metering. With spot metering, only a tiny portion of the entire image is used for metering, and that can be more of a problem than an advantage. If the metering spot is on the white car, the result will look like this. Instead of white, the car will be a medium gray and the image will be way too dark. That's not the fault of spot metering, it's a user error. If evaluative metering is used instead, there would be a much better chance for good, if not perfect exposure, because the different metering areas cover the background, the sky, and the water as well, not only the car. When the subject is dark or almost black, like this little chap, of course the result of spot metering is a gray foal and the image is too bright. Again, evaluative metering would be the better choice in this case. Now, you may say that I have selected unfair examples. Okay, guilty as charged. But I just wanted to show what can happen when you use spot metering without thinking. Therefore, 2 examples where spot metering can be helpful. If you shoot elephants, no, don't shoot them. Just take pictures. Anyway, if you shoot elephants, then spot metering will be spot on. Pun intended. Because, well, elephants tend to be medium gray, mostly. And whenever the subject is medium gray, the exposure metering works perfectly. That's why we have gray cards, by the way. And spot metering can be a good idea when you have a backlit subject. In this case, spot metering resulted in an overall quite satisfactory exposure. Look at the skin tones of the riders, for example. However, the highlights are blown out. But again, that is not the fault of spot metering. It's a general problem of high contrast subjects like backlit scenes. If you have understood exposure metering and if you know what you're doing, then by all means use spot metering. But please, don't recommend it to rookies as a general remedy for poorly exposed images. It simply is not. Thanks for watching and stay tuned.